Let's have a look at slightly harder common factor examples now. So we've seen ones where we had a common factor which was a number. We've also seen ones in the previous videos where the common factor was a letter. And indeed in some of the slightly harder ones again, the highest common factor might be something like 2x, which is a number and a letter. So let's have a look at this type of question now. So if I start with number 1, in this case I'm going to introduce x to the power 2 or x squared. And I'm going to say, let's consider we've got x squared plus 3x's. And we're asked in this particular question to factorise that. And once again, we're going to use the common factor technique. So the first thing you do is, here's the first term, x squared. Here's the second term, which is a positive 3x. And the first thing you'd say is there a number that goes into x squared and a number that also goes into 3x? Well, there is no number, apart from the number 1, but we don't use the number 1. There is no number that goes into that and into that. So there is no common factor, which is the a number which goes into that and into that. So next thing you say is there a letter that appears in both terms? Well, you've got to remember that the x squared actually means x multiplied by x. So if you like, there's an x in this term, there it is, and there's an x, another x there in fact, there's an x in that term, there's one there and there's one there, and they're multiplied together. So there is an x present in both terms, 3 times x, and this is x times x. So what we're going to do is in this case say that there is an x which is present in both terms, and that is known as the highest common factor. And you now imagine multiplying the bracket out. So you say x times something gives you x squared. Well, x squared, if you remember, is x times x. So that must be a letter x. X times x is x to the power 2 or x squared. Plus, and then you say x times something gives you 3x's. Well, the something must be the number 3. And that's the end of the question. And it's as simple as that. So let's try a couple more. So if I said to you, how about x squared minus 7x? And I said, factorise that. Okay, there is no number that goes into both, but there is a letter x that you can see in both. This is x times x, remember, and that's 7 times x. So x is in both. So the x is the common factor. X times something gives you x squared. Well, x times by itself, x times x gives you x squared. Take away, and then it's x times something gives you 7x. The something must be 7. And that's the end of the question. So that there is the same as that there. Okay, number 3. How about something like this? X squared plus yx. Okay, slightly different. Slightly different because the second term, unlike having 3x, we've got yx. Remember, I could write that as xy, yx, xy, mean the same thing. Normally, you'd probably write that as xy because it's alphabetical xy. But okay, if you see it as yx, you go with yx. We're going to factorise that by common factor. There's no number in both terms, but there is a letter x in both terms. So x is the common factor. X times x gives you x squared, plus x times a y. Well, x times a y gives you xy, but remember xy is the same thing as yx. So there you go, there's the question finished. Number 4, just move that up a little bit. Sometimes this sort of thing happens. You might find that you've got x squared minus 7xy, something like that, and you're asked to factorise that. There is no common factor which is a number, but there is x in that term because that's x times x, and there's an x present in that term. Okay, so the common factor will once again be an x. X times an x gives you the x squared. Take away, and then x times something gives you 7xy. Well, to get the 7, you need a number 7 there. And you need xy. We've already got the x, so you need an extra y. So x times 7y, if you think about x times 7y, that is the same thing as you can put the number first, then the x, then the y alphabetically. So that's the same as 7xy. And that's what we need. So there you go, that's the answer to the question. Okay, and the last one we're going to do in this video, how about something like this? Let's change the letter. You might have y squared minus 5xy, something like that, to factorise. There is no number in both terms, but there is a y in both terms. So the common factor in this case will be a y, and the rest goes inside a bracket. Let's move it up a bit. So y times a y will give you y squared, take away, take away. Y times something gives you 5xy. Well, surely that must be a 5x, because a y times a 5x, y times a 5x, you can say that that's the same. Put the 5 first, then put the x, then put the y, is 5xy, which is what we need. So y times the 5x gives 5xy. And that's the last example in this little video.